Can I eat with you, Dad? The homeless black girl asked the millionaire, his answer shocking. The restaurant patio was the kind of place where every detail was meant to impress. White linen draped over tables, wine glasses catching the sunlight like crystals, and waiters gliding in silence as if they were part of the decor. The customers weren't just there to eat. They were there to be seen, to prove they belonged among the elite. At the center of one table sat Richard Hale, a 35-year-old entrepreneur whose sharp business instincts had made him a millionaire before most of his college classmates had finished paying off student loans. Dressed in a tailored cream suit, Richard looked every bit the part, confident, polished, untouchable. He leaned back in his chair, laughing with two investors over a glass of white wine, savoring the satisfaction of being admired. But then something happened that no one at that restaurant would forget. The air shifted, whispers began, and Richard felt a small tug at his sleeve. He turned, and what he saw made his smile collapse. Standing beside him was a little black girl, no older than 8. Her dress was torn and dirt-stained, hanging loosely on her thin frame. Her hair was matted, her bare feet pressed into the stone floor, and her skin bore the marks of someone who had spent more nights on the street than in a bed. But it wasn't her appearance that stunned him. It was her voice. She looked up at him with wide, trembling eyes and said softly, "Can I eat with you, Dad?" The courtyard froze. A fork clattered to a plate somewhere in the distance, but no one moved. Dozens of eyes darted toward Richard, toward the girl who had just shattered the illusion of his perfect world. Richard's chest tightened, his hand instinctively pulling back from her small fingers. "What did you just say?" His voice was low but sharp. The girl swallowed hard, her lips trembling. "Dad," she repeated louder this time, her tiny hand still gripping his sleeve as if she'd fall without him. "You're my dad." Gasps spread across the restaurant. A woman in pearls at the next table raised her eyebrows, whispering to her husband. His investors stiffened, exchanging awkward glances, clearly waiting to see how he'd handle this. Richard's jaw locked. "I don't even know you," he said firmly, his pulse hammering in his ears. But the girl shook her head, her eyes filling with tears. "You do? Mama told me. She said my daddy's name was Richard Hale, the man in the white suit with the shiny watch." "That's you." Richard froze. The weight of her words crashed into him like a blow. His gold watch gleamed under the sunlight, suddenly feeling like evidence. The girl's voice broke as she went on, each word tumbling out with desperate urgency. "Mama said you used to come around when I was a baby. She said you promised to help us, but then you left. She said one day I'd see you and I'd know. And I know because you look like me." Richard's blood ran cold. He wanted to deny it instantly, to dismiss her as some street kid coached by her mother for pity money. But something in her face, those dark searching eyes, the curve of her mouth, felt hauntingly familiar. He swallowed hard, his throat dry. "That's impossible," he muttered, more to himself than to her. The girl took a step closer, her voice cracking now, nearly pleading. "Please, I'm hungry. Just let me eat with you. Please, Daddy." Richard felt the weight of the entire restaurant pressing in on him. Every guest was watching, whispers swirling like smoke. Is it true? Did he abandon her? A secret child. His two investors sat rigidly, one with thinly veiled disgust, the other trying not to stare. His mind raced backward, 10 years, maybe more. A short-lived relationship, one he never looked back on. A woman he had left behind as his career took off. Could this girl really be from then? Had his past finally walked right up to his table? The girl's hand tightened on his sleeve, her eyes brimmed with tears, but behind them burned courage. "Please, Dad, I don't want money. I just want food." Richard's stomach knotted, shame and disbelief, fighting for space inside him. He could feel the sweat prickling at his temples, though the afternoon breeze was cool. The silence grew unbearable. Around them, people leaned forward in their seats, straining to catch his reaction. To them, it wasn't just a scene. It was a scandal unfolding in real time. Richard's mouth opened, but no words came. He was a man used to answers, to control. But here he was, cornered by a child in rags who might just be telling the truth. And as the girl looked up at him, hungry, trembling, and desperate, his world teetered between denial and acceptance, pride and compassion. Everyone waited for what he would say next. Richard cleared his throat, his voice breaking. "I don't understand. Why? Why would you think I'm your father? There are hundreds of men in suits. Why me?" The little girl straightened, trembling but unflinching. Her voice cracked but held firm because Mama told me. She told me about you, how you always wore white suits when you wanted to impress people. She said you had a gold watch, the kind that shines so bright you can see it even at night. She said, you had light hair and blue eyes that looked like the sky, but never stayed long enough to see the rain. Richard's face went pale. Every detail matched. His throat tightened, but the girl wasn't done. She told me your name. She told me Richard Hale was my daddy. And she told me that if I ever saw you, I would know because you'd look shocked to see me. Her lips quivered, but her gaze didn't falter. And you do. You look shocked right now. The restaurant grew deathly quiet again. His investors shifted in their seats, uncomfortable, one muttering under his breath. This is ridiculous. But neither dared to interrupt. Richard's heart pounded. Memories long buried clawed their way to the surface. A woman named Elma. Quiet, warm, with a laugh that used to make him forget the stress of his work. They'd met years ago in a crowded bar when his career was just beginning. He had been restless, ambitious, never planning to settle. She had been steady, hopeful. Their time together had been brief, almost careless on his part. But she had told him once softly, if something ever happens, I'll have to raise it alone, won't I? He had laughed it off, eager to chase his empire. Now, staring at this girl with Elma's dark eyes, he realized those words had not been a warning. They had been prophecy. His voice cracked as he whispered, your mother? Is she still alive? The girl's small shoulders sagged. She shook her head slowly. She got sick. She tried to fight it, but she couldn't anymore. Before she went to sleep for the last time, she held my hand and said, find him. Find your father. His name is Richard Hale. He will be wearing his white suit and gold watch. He will be eating where the rich people eat. And he won't believe you at first, but you must tell him anyway. Richard's stomach twisted violently, guilt coursing through him. His chest heaved as though the very air had turned to stone. He looked at her again, at her thin frame, her dirt-stained dress, the courage it must have taken to walk into this place alone. Still, pride and fear clawed at him. He glanced around at the staring eyes, the whispers slicing through him like knives. He could deny her, dismiss her as some child coached into a story for sympathy. It would be so easy, a single word, no, and he could protect his image. But then she looked up at him again, her eyes glistening. I'm not asking for money, she whispered. I'm asking for food. Just one meal. Please, Dad. Something in him broke. The arrogance he had worn like armor all his life crumbled under the weight of that word. Dad. He pushed back his chair slowly, the scrape of its legs cutting the silence. He knelt until he was eye level with her. Gasps rose from the tables, some in shock, others in disbelief. His investors leaned forward, their faces twisted in horror at the public scene. Richard's voice was low, trembling. You knew it was me because I left pieces of myself behind with your mother. And now I see them in you. His eyes blurred with tears. I should have been there. I should have known. I failed you both. The girl's lips parted in surprise. For a moment, she couldn't speak. Then she threw her small arms around his neck, clinging to him as though she had been waiting her entire life for this. The restaurant buzzed with whispers. But Richard no longer cared. He pulled her close, his face buried in her tangled hair. I'm here now, he whispered fiercely. I can't change the past, but I swear I will never let you go hungry again. Not ever. When he stood lifting her into his arms, the eyes of the courtyard followed. Some sneered, others softened, but it didn't matter. For the first time in years, Richard didn't care about image or reputation. All he cared about was the fragile, brave little girl who had walked out of the shadows of his past to claim her place in his life. He carried her to the table, sat her in his chair, and pushed a plate toward her. Eat, sweetheart, he said, his voice breaking. Eat as much as you want. As she reached for the food with trembling hands, tears slipping down her cheeks. Richard knew one thing with absolute certainty. She had found him in a world that never wanted her to belong. And this time he would not walk away. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button for more emotional, dramatic, and unexpected tales. And let us know in the comments, where in the world are you watching from? We love hearing from all of you. Until next time, stay kind, stay curious, and keep watching.